Hello, this is History Shorts with the Artifactual Scholar. Today, I'll be talking about the unusual life of Emperor Norton I. American history is full of unconventional nonconformists, and the city of San Francisco has been home to its fair share. But one of the most unique figures in that city's history was the self-proclaimed Emperor of the United States, Norton I. Joshua Abraham Norton arrived in the United States in the late 1840s from South Africa. Like thousands of others, he was drawn to California, but unlike many, Norton arrived with money in pocket. He immediately set himself up in business as a commercial agent and real estate speculator. Within a few years, he had amassed a sizable fortune and become a leading member of San Francisco society. But then, in 1852, Norton's luck changed. A rice shortage in China had driven up the price of that grain by nearly 900%. Sensing an opportunity to turn an enormous profit, Norton attempted to corner the rice market in San Francisco and entered into a contract to purchase a shipload of Peruvian rice. It proved to be a bad investment, as other ships laden with rice soon arrived in the city, and the commodity's price collapsed. Norton lost his fortune and disappeared from public view. Then, on September 17, 1859, a proclamation was published in the pages of the San Francisco Evening Bulletin. Claiming the support of great numbers of citizens, Joshua Norton had declared himself emperor. The reign of Norton I, Emperor of the United States, had begun. San Franciscans at first reacted to the imperial declaration with humor and slight ridicule. But the diligence and seriousness with which Norton went about his role as emperor changed public opinion. Often dressed in a hand-me-down military uniform, complete with epaulets and saber, Norton became a familiar figure throughout the town, promenading among his subjects and attending important public gatherings. He was sometimes accompanied by an imperial retinue, two stray dogs named Bummer and Lazarus. Soon, the public began treating him with the deference due his title. For his part, Norton filled the role of emperor to the best of his abilities. Using the city's newspapers as his platform, he issued numerous imperial proclamations dealing with many local, national, and international issues. For example, in 1860, as the United States teetered toward civil war, Emperor Norton issued a decree dissolving Congress. In 1863, Norton added the title Protector of Mexico to his official name after French forces invaded that country. And in 1869, another proclamation dissolved the Republican and Democratic parties because of the political strife they caused. Many of the imperial proclamations were ahead of their time and even progressive. Norton supported protections for immigrants and ethnic minorities. He advocated for women to have the right to vote, and he stood firmly opposed to any form of corruption. He also strongly pushed for the construction of a cross-bay bridge or tunnel connecting San Francisco to Oakland. A bridge would eventually be built in 1936. Throughout the 1860s and 70s, Norton was a beloved figure in San Francisco. He often ate for free in the best restaurants, and seats were reserved for him at the theater. In fact, it became a point of pride for many businesses if the emperor visited. What is remarkable is the fact that Norton was impoverished and often collected so-called taxes when he entered a shop. Yet the colorful eccentricities of the emperor became a part of the fabric and charm of the city, and Norton himself became somewhat of a tourist attraction and a boom for local businesses. In 1867, when a security officer detained Norton on charges of vagrancy and insanity, a public outcry caused the chief of police to release the emperor with apologies, and police officers began to salute him when he passed them in the streets. Norton was such a popular figure that when he began issuing imperial currency in 1870, it was accepted throughout the city. And when his uniform grew threadbare, the city government bought him a new one. For the rest of the decade, he remained a celebrated and esteemed figure in San Francisco. On January 8, 1880, while making his way to attend a lecture at the Academy of Science, Norton collapsed and died. As news of his death spread through the city, crowds began to gather at the morgue to pay their respects. 2 days later, a crowd of 10,000 watched as the body of the late emperor was moved to the Masonic Cemetery for interment. 54 years later, in 1934, the remains of the emperor were moved with great pomp and ceremony to a new, final resting place in Woodlawn Cemetery. Though the reign of the Emperor Norton I ended in 1880, his memory endures. Characters based on Norton have appeared in novels, comic books, and film. Mark Twain supposedly based the character of the king in The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn on Norton, and fictional versions of the emperor have appeared in the classic television shows Death Valley Days and Bonanza. In San Francisco, there have been attempts to rename the Bay Bridge in his honor, and his story is still celebrated by many in the city by the bay. This has been History Shorts. Thanks for watching.